Good morning, everybody, and you're all super welcome, whether you're joining us online or whether you're joining us right here in the Titanic. You're all really, really welcome to Beyond. We have a super action-packed morning for you, and there's lots and lots to do during the breaks, during the lunches, and of course in the evenings as well, and I'm going to take you through all of that. My name is Susan Hayes Culleton, and I am delighted to be your host here to both today and tomorrow. Of course, some of you I met yesterday, whether it was at the dinner last night, or of course I could have met you this morning, as there's already been lots and lots of conversation happening on the Hop-In app. So on that note, I just want to give you a couple of things to bear in mind. Number one is we fully intend to trend on Twitter. So if we could ask your help on that, you will find the Beyond Conference at Beyond CNF, and also the hashtag is BeyondConf. Again, you'll have found me quite a number of times there this morning, full of excitement about all of what was to come. Now, I want to talk about the Hop-In app for a moment, please. First of all, you would have got an email with your magic link, which would have brought you straight in to access it. Now, Hop-In is going to be the way we take in all the questions for the Q&As, and both the online and in-person audiences are all going to be using Hop-In. So, if you haven't already, I would invite you please to make sure you download it. You have to download the app first. Download the app and then click on the magic link that was in one of your emails that you received, and then that is the way in which you can do most of the things that I'm about to tell you, including you can chat with other people, you can chat with everybody as well, so you can see how to do both. You can either send direct messages to people or else you can chat to everybody in the whole group. Like I say, you can also submit questions. For example, in our panel discussion later on this morning, you'll be able to submit your questions in there, and then the panel moderator will be able to see them and put them, of course, to our speakers. You can also visit the spaces. There's Meet the Makers, Meet the Researchers, and there is also the Beyond Lounge as well. So all of that is all in the Hop-In app, and like I say, it's there for both our in-person and our online audience. And also, of course, we have the showcase. Now, the showcase is taking place right here, physically in the building, and I'll tell you all about that at the break, as well as online. You can also see the showcase all around the Immersive Futures Lab. All of that is on the Hop-In app as well. So it's a pretty important part of the whole experience today. Now, one other thing that I want to tell you about before I then just tell you a little bit about our theme and also the running order for this morning is that if you go on to the website, beyondconference.org, you will also see the posters. And the posters are a creation from various different people who are early researchers and in a postdoc situation, whereby they have put together posters and stories all to do with a sense of place. I have to tell you, when I heard a couple of months ago now, when I first heard about Beyond Conf, and they were telling me that they were going to run a hybrid event, I thought to myself, I wonder how one organisation is going to make an in-person and an online audience feel as if they're the only ones in our respective rooms. But by God, if there was ever a team that could do it, it is the Beyond Conference team. So before we start any part of the formal session, can I ask you all to put your hands together for the team who have barely gotten to sleep in about 3 weeks? They deserve that warmly. They really, really do. So before I introduce you to our first keynote speaker, I just want to speak briefly about the theme. And the theme is very simple. It is one word, and it is place. So I had to think about that, and I had to think about, well, what does place mean to me? And I was surprised, actually, when I did think through it, how many connotations of place came to mind. And I'd invite you to share your references and thoughts around place, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's in Hop-In, or of course later on in the breaks as well. But in my mind, place is obviously, it's a physical thing. I travelled up here on the train on Monday, up here physically to Belfast. I've been here a number of times over the past while. I've been in this physical place. I've emceed a conference in this physical place. And that, of course, is probably what most of us would think of first and foremost. However, particularly over the past 18 months, I'm sure you've often heard people say about whether they were in a good place or not, particularly over lockdown, etc. And so many people that I've spoken to in the past 36 hours have said, God, it's lovely to be back here meeting people, interacting again, online networking with new people, etc. So I hope today you're in a good place as you join us. But no matter how you feel, you're most welcome. And that was why, for those of you who are here in person, you'll know that everybody had the choice of a blue or a red lanyard, because we understand people may feel in a different place about how we're interacting here today. The third thing, though, that I feel about place is that it's actually a sense of belonging. We might feel part of a community. Personally, I lived in Edinburgh about 12 years ago now, and I was there for one of my college summers. And I remember coming home and feeling a loneliness for the place. However, it wasn't the place that I was lonely for. It was the community that was there and that I had built around me at the time. And I remember after 3 months of reverse homesickness after leaving Edinburgh, feeling actually that it was a place that took a place in my heart, as opposed to a physical set of buildings and an environment. And the fourth thing, of course, is that we're all living in a very changing place. To me, Belfast is constantly changing. I've been doing business here since 2013, and over that time I have seen the environment change. I've seen many elections come and go, and referendums too. I've also seen the way the physical infrastructure has changed. The sense of the place has changed. So indeed, as we do embark at a very changing time, I think we can all take a sense that the world around us, the place around us, is also a benchmark for that change. However, particularly when we look at technology, we can also think about how to be in a place without ever actually being there. Sometimes we can go back to a place in time, back in history, through one of our senses. I don't know what it is, but any time I taste a raspberry, I'm back picking them in my aunt's back garden with my cousins, and I'm about 6. And one of them is throwing raspberries at me as well, now that I think of it. But the point is that sometimes it's a song. You can hear a song and you can be back doing your A-levels, you could be back in university. So sometimes we can get a connection to a place in our past through one of our senses. And another one, of course, that we talk about an awful lot now is mindfulness. Personally, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm watching something on Netflix, I can be transformed into it. I've recently been watching Bonfire of Destiny, and it's a show on Netflix. It's based on a true story back in Paris in the 1900s. And I remember, in about the 3rd episode in, I was sitting downstairs and I was watching it. My husband came down and I kind of thought, God, I'm married to you again. For a while there, I was 100 years younger, and I had just come through a fire, and here he was. And, I kind of took a moment to readjust again. So through mindfulness, we can be transported. And of course, during lockdown, we couldn't physically go to other places, so our minds had to bring us there instead. And there's 2 more. One of them, and I think this is particularly important the older we get, and that is that sometimes we get a sense of place, not because we've lived here before, but it just passes down through our genes. Whether we feel inherently the identity that we have, or whether it is the place that we feel we belong to, or, particularly if we travel, we feel a sense of heritage. And yet, where does that come from? But from generations hence. So that is also, I think, where we can feel a sense of place is actually through our genes, through our DNA that has been planned long before we've ever arrived on the earth. And the last place brings me to the Immersive Futures Lab. Yesterday, I went to the Immersive Arcade and I put on the headset and I went through a journey through time. And I was mentioning this to a person at the speaker's dinner last night is, of course, I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't be distracted by an email or a tweet or anything else like that, despite I'm asking all of you to be distracted with them right throughout the day, but all the same. So I put on the headset and I met the Wright brothers. And I was actually driving the plane as I took it up into the sky. I was delighted with myself. And before that, I had just said goodbye to Leonardo da Vinci. And here I was projected then into the future where I was driving the plane and I was basically tailoring the experience to what I wanted in a sustainable way. So after all, immersive technology can transport us geographically, through time, and of course through our mind. And then we can take off the glasses and bring us right back to the very first place where we began. So on that note, I do invite you to reflect on your sense, because the term place is not just a theme that was just bandied about up there, far from it. The team really thought about it. And I think as we have this unique experience of being in a hybrid place, in one of the best cities in the world, and in the best venues in the best cities in the world, we really do have a great opportunity over the next 2 days. And speaking of a great opportunity, I'm now going to invite Sir Peter Baselgate to please come to the stage. Many of you, of course, will be familiar with his work, whether it's Big Brother, or whether it is Ready Steady Cook, whether it is being chair of the Arts Council, chair of ITV, and of course he's also the man behind the reports that start the whole creative industries and creative clusters. So on that note, can I ask you to put your hands together for Sir Peter Baselgate?